r/AskReddit. With April Fools around the corner, what are some of the best pranks you have played? Got the idea from a local radio station. I had posted on local classified sites, our newspaper, etc. to call this phone number on this date and do your very best impression of a goat, and hang up. If yours was the best, you'd be entered to win. Didn't say what you'd win. Just that you could win. The number was my husband's. On his birthday. The first call came in at 5 a.m., an hour before his alarm. Bah! Click. He got home that night and glared at me. I don't know how, but I know you did this. His voicemail was full of goat noises. The best prank I ever heard of was told to me by my best friend's dad. When he was in college, he and another guy were the only ones to stay at the dorm over winter break. It was kind of sad, really. Neither had families that they wanted to see. They were quickly bored, so they picked the lock to the room of a guy who was a jerk, then took the door off the hinges, and then, he swears this is true, drywalled over the doorway and painted the hallway. The guy comes back from break, walks along the hallway, room 505, 506, 508, wait, what? His room is gone. The guy actually went outside, looked up to their floor, and counted windows to see if his room had completely disappeared from the space-time continuum. I'm thinking of finding a recording of two guys having an NSA-like conversation and having my mother's Amazon Echo play it at a random time during the day. One year April Fool's was on a Sunday, so all throughout the evening before I snuck around methodically changing the clocks ahead by 4 hours. The next morning, on April 1st, the parents woke up around their usual time and to their horror found out we were all 2 hours late for church. Which doesn't sound like a big deal, except my dad was the head pastor. After watching them in sheer panic for a few minutes, I caved and told them. They were not amused. Best prank? When I was 6 and my older sister was 8, while my parents went off alone in their bedroom to have their TV time, we created a tall person costume like a ghost with a sheet, hat, sunglasses, and raincoat, with my sister sitting up on my shoulders. We were planning on knocking on my parents' door, and for whoever answered, my sister had prepared some goofy question to ask, to make them laugh, see. But it never got that far. As we approached their door, giggling and trying not to tip over, my mother cracked open the door with a tray of dishes and glasses in her hands, looking back over her shoulder talking to my dad. When she turned forward, she was almost face to face with our wobbly tall person in a sheet with sunglasses and raincoat. Picture scared Homer Simpson. She screamed, flipped her plate tray up in the air, turned and barged running back into the bedroom like the devil was behind her, screaming my dad's name. My sister and I both lost it laughing, lost our tall person balance and tilted against a wall, and then my sister peed on me because she was laughing too hard and couldn't get down. We didn't even get in that much trouble, because although my mother wanted to beat both of us with a belt, my dad was laughing too hard to let things get ugly. So there. Not a clever or well thought out prank, but the results were more than we could have hoped for. Not me, but my sister once unscrewed the shower head and placed a hard lifesaver candy in there, so that after my shower I was subtly sticky. Used to do the same with dried broth tablets. Nothing better than a chicken-flavored shower. I sorted the keys on my boss's keyboard alphabetically. My sister did not back up her phone despite me telling her to several times. I had the same phone as her. I backed up my phone, reset it to factory settings, switched covers with her phone, and watched her morning descend into chaos. One summer at camp, we brought a life-size cutout of a professional wrestler and set it up inside the bathroom of the counselor's cabin. The screams echoed through the night. It was beautiful. Not me, but my mom played a good one on my dad. One morning, he poured his usual bowl of cereal and set it on the table. He put the spoon in it, then got up to go to the bathroom. While he was gone, my mom took the spoon out and replaced it with a fork. My dad's look of confusion was priceless. I'm a fan of benign pranks. I used to have a job that involved driving with a partner for an hour each way, once a week. One year, I had an especially gullible partner who I often teased about how easy it was to get her to believe anything. That year, April Fools fell on my driving day. After a few minutes driving, I found a spot in the conversation to say, it says gullible on the ceiling. She gave me a jokingly dirty look. Please. I know that one, I'm not that clueless. Are you sure? Because it definitely says that. Ha, try another one. Well, okay then, I shrug and go back to driving. The moment a minute later when she surreptitiously sneaked a peek at the ceiling and saw that I'd actually written gullible directly over her head, the sweetest prank payoff ever. Not much of a prankster, but I do put frozen peas in the fridge ice dispenser. When my mom goes for ice water, she gets peas instead. One year, me and my younger brothers turned everything possible upside down in the kitchen after our parents had gone to bed. Cookbooks, food, the calendar, paintings, basically everything but appliances. It took my parents a few moments to actually figure out what we had done in the morning, but their reaction was priceless. Best part was, it was a prank that kept on giving. For literally the next year, every so often something would be found that hadn't gotten turned right side up and everyone would have a good chuckle. Once or twice even happened when there was company over. There was a competition running by Tim Tam, a very popular chocolate biscuit in Australia, where they were giving away a weekly prize of either a year's worth of Tim Tams or $20,000 worth of travel vouchers. To enter the competition, you had to text in a special code found on the inside of the packet. The terms and conditions said that you needed the packet as proof of purchase in order to win the prize. I bought Tim Tams every time they were on special and entered the competition about a dozen times. I kept the empty packets on our bench behind our coffee maker. I came home from work one day and the packets were gone. I asked my husband where they were and he said he'd thrown them out. But what if we win? I whined. We won't win, he scoffed. I went to work and told my colleague about this and we hatched a plan. My husband and this colleague had never met. A couple of weeks later, my colleague phoned my husband on a Friday afternoon and pretended to be from Tim Tam. After letting him know he was the lucky winner, she said, "Now, all you'll need to do to redeem your prize is provide proof that you purchased the packet with the code." My husband lied and said he thought we'd lost the packet and asked if could he have some time to find it. Seconds after they'd hung up, my phone rang. It was my husband. "Don't be angry," he started, "but we won the Tim Tam competition." I started screaming in excitement and jumping around. He was trying to interrupt me and I was cheering, etc. Then he told me about needing the packets to win, to which I was like, "Babe, I told you not to throw them out. You better find it." Etc. etc. We ended the conversation with him apologizing profusely and promising that he would find the packets. We hung up the phone and I felt guilty within minutes, knowing how stressed my husband would be. I tried calling him back but couldn't get onto him. I called and called for about half an hour before I finally got onto him and admitted that it was a prank. The phone went silent. Do you know what I have been doing for the last half hour? I have been wading through our garbage bin trying to find those freaking packets. Without doubt, best prank I've ever pulled. One time I put extra strength Orajel, an over-the-counter mouth numbing cream for those who don't know, on the filter side of my friend's cigarettes. It was funny cause I could tell he could feel something was off but didn't say anything to anyone until I burst out laughing. I slathered it on an obnoxious friend's beer bottles. After about 3, he started slurring and thought he was having a stroke. 15-year-old me had walkie-talkies. We lived in an old house. 3 stories, but not wow rich family 3 stories. More like, man, I thought that place was condemned, are they squatters? 3 stories. Old, drafty, ripped out of an old Hitchcock film and more than likely haunted as balls. Or so my sister was convinced. For being a 3-story house, it was surprisingly small, and what I generously call the 3rd story was a converted attic that was sectioned off into a long hallway and 2 bedrooms. Mine, and at the end of the long hallway, my sister's room. My sister, who is convinced, probably not wrongly, that this place is as above mentioned, haunted to the gonads. Me, my best friend and my mother were on the 1st floor, in the living room playing a board game. My sister was just coming home, and my walkie-talkie was under her bed. It was late, it was dark, and she was going to her room. So, upon seeing her come in, I turned on the 2nd walkie-talkie. Boom boom boom. She made it up the 1st floor to the 2nd. Boom boom boom. She tromped up the 2nd floor to the 3rd. Step. 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 She carefully made it down the long attic hall that contained no light sources because it was an old attic hall. Creak. Her door opens as she even more slowly moves across the room to her lamp, the only source of light in her suspected haunted room, as there were no wall or pull switches. Step. 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 And just before she could reach the light, Garbledybira o snarl snore growl into the walkie-talkie that was stashed oh so conveniently under her bed. 3 things happened. 1. My mother and best friend look at me like I'm insane. 2. There's a blood-curdling scream from the third floor. And most impressively, 3, my sister appears in the downstairs living room. She basically teleported. Whiter than any living being should ever be, eyes wide and pupils blinking out for help in Morse code, she stood there twitching, shaking, and peeing. Like full Linda Blair, "Stop playing the piano and pay attention to me, mommy," peeing. I have never, ever in my life felt so bad, so good, or laughed so hard while feeling like the world's worst human being. When my mother was done laughing, which took much longer than my own humor, I was grounded, the walkie-talkies banished to some box in the basement, and this story comes out whenever my sister mentions ghosts. I'm a bad person, but I'm kinda good at it. Melting chocolate and then completely covering an egg with it. Tell people it's a homemade caramel egg. Gets them every time. Years ago at a trivia night with my father-in-law and all my in-laws' friends, mother-in-law was absent because of business, I won a raffle. The only prize left was this horribly gaudy wine bottle candelabra with these tacky cork candles. It was hideous. So I get this monstrosity and take it back to the table and I'm getting picked on by everyone, then it hits me. I explain that we are all now in this together, my mother-in-law's birthday was in a few weeks, I'm going to wrap this up and give it to her. Everyone tells me how she's not going to like it. I say that she's a nice person, and that will be her downfall. She's too nice to tell me to my face that she doesn't want it. I'll go on and on about how I looked everywhere for the perfect gift. She'll keep it out to placate me and not hurt my feelings for probably about a month, but then I'll ask her if she still has it. She'll bring it back out for a month to show me she likes my gift. So, I tell her friends, every time you see this thing on the table or the counter, you know she's still not in on the joke. That was in 2008. This last Christmas she tells me she's used all the cork candles and can't have it on the table for Christmas dinner. Guess what her friend Char is getting her for her birthday? Create a Craigslist ad for free chickens. Create something along the lines of had a storm and the coop was destroyed, chickens need a home blah blah. List a coworker/friend's name and cell phone number. Wait for ensuing chaos on said phone. Did this to one of the supervisors at work, knowing full well he'd be the kind who'd get into a craze figuring out the problem. NPR used to do an April Fool's Day segment every year that was funny as hell. They would sound like absolutely serious stories that could fool even the smartest listeners. My favorite was one about maple syrup farmers in Vermont. They were talking about how if you didn't tap the trees on time they could dangerously explode due to the buildup of sap. Throughout the interview you would hear an occasional kapow in the distance and the farmer would say, "Well, there goes another one." There was once a legendary prank at my high school, the kind that transcends the ages and is immortalized in the school's consciousness. One teacher had an extreme phobia of eyes. They just freaked him out. Well, one class must have been possessed by Satan himself and decided to pull the meanest prank of all time. They not only covered everywhere in his class with pictures of eyes, but hid them around the class. The story goes that months afterwards the teacher would, say, lift of his coffee mug and, in the middle of a dead silent class, leap out of his chair screaming at the picture of an eye beneath. Cruel, but insanely hilarious. Had a roommate and she took a road trip in a car I had rented in my name. This was fine by the way, she was responsible and I knew she'd take care of it. Anyways, she takes her trip and arrives safely. 2 days later, was April Fool's. And she had a date. I called her up and said in my most I'm freaking the hell out voice I could muster and told her that there was a mix-up with the car rental place and that since the car was out of state now, they had reported it stolen since I couldn't return it and re-sign the paperwork for it. The dead silence while she digested this information was gold. She screamed and then cried. I waited a few minutes before I asked what day it was. She first said Thursday. Why? Then I asked her the date. When it dawned on her that was April Fool's, she said frick you. Hung up on me and didn't talk to me till she got home. Never did mention how her date went now that I think back on it. By far my best one ever. When the Google Android G1 dropped and smartphones were not that common, an app came out that let you spoof a number, change your voice, and record the call. So one night after watching crappy films and drinking/getting high with a few friends, my girlfriend and I decided to head home, but once we got to the parking lot of the apartment complex I was struck with the idea to spoof a call to a friend, we will call him Ben, at the house using his own number and to pretend to be him from the future and leave him a cryptic message. Ben answers phone confused, hello? Me, I don't have much time. You need to listen carefully. Do not leave the house and do not go to sleep tonight. Do you understand? Ben, confusion and panic, wait, what, who is this, what the hell is going on? Me, repeats the instructions, you have to do this. You cannot deviate, our life depends on this. Ben, total panic mode, oh my god. What the hell is going on? Is this real? Me, girlfriend in the background making noises and general chaos, I have to go. Don't deviate. Trust no one. Oh my god. Screams while disconnecting call. Girlfriend and I were laughing hysterically when we get a call from a friend at the house. At this point there is only 3 of them left, wanting to know if I just called Ben. Of course, I deny that and try to pry the reason from them. They relay the events from their end and they are genuinely freaking out. Ben is having a mild to severe meltdown. We continue to deny. The next day I find out that Ben did indeed follow the instructions and the other 2 were weirded out by the whole thing and continued calling friends all night to find out who did it. So I waited until late the next day to play back the recording. They were blown away by the technology and Ben was kind of mad because he thought he was going crazy. Photoshopped a picture of a baby lion in my living room and convinced my mother that I was volunteering with the LA Zoo foster parenting program. After school, first year of high school, me and a friend biked home. I told him we were stopping at my grandmother's house along the way. We put our bikes at the beginning of the alley leading up to a group of backyards. I was feigning having issues getting my bike locked and told my friend to go on ahead and knock on the back door of the house at the end. He knocks, no one hears him. I explained to him she has bad hearing, and to try waving in front of the window. My friend explains someone is looking at him, but she's not getting up to let him in. Oh, maybe the door is open, just go right on in that case. My grandma lives in a different city. That woman? Total stranger. When I was 14 I was on some medication. I can't remember what for, but anyway. I have a sister who was 7 at the time. A little backstory, when my sister was born, she had a skin tag right in her butt crack. It had to be surgically removed because the doctors said it would continue to grow over time, and probably cause a lot of pain. Back to the story. She walks into the kitchen to see me taking my medicine, asks me what I'm doing. I tell her, it's medicine. What for? Oh. Well, you see Dad's side of the family has a genetic condition. Basically when you turn 15, you grow a tail. No one knows why, the doctors finally figured out how to stop it. I have to take this pill, it stops it. Well, she knew about her skin tag, but no one ever called it that, we always called it her tail. It just helped my story, she got her tail because it's just that happens. She was entirely convinced that the people on my dad's side of the family had all had tails surgically removed, and I was one of the first to get medicine to completely stop it. I let it go on for years. I carry rectal use only and vaginal use only stickers in my bag at work and I place them on random things like bananas and Purell bottles. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, show your support. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below.